questions all at once. First of all, I just want to say thank you to WellSet and to you, Rosa, for hosting me today and for producing this series on the book, Our Moment of Choice. We're so excited to be putting this book out at this moment. How extraordinary is it that we've been planning for years a book with the title Our Moment of Choice, and the moment that it came out is 2020, when everyone is able to see how urgent it is that we make different choices so that humanity can learn to live in harmony with one another and this beautiful planet that gives us life. So I'm Reverend Deborah Moldow. I'm an interfaith minister, and I became involved about a dozen years ago with the Source of Synergy Foundation, which was founded by an extraordinary visionary named Diane Marie Williams, who is also represented in this book. And she had a vision to bring people together in synergy so that what we create among us is greater than what we can do individually. And that vision birthed the Evolutionary Leaders Project. And the Evolutionary Leaders is a community of visionaries, thought leaders, social activists, spiritual leaders, and many, many authors, some of whom are very well known, and 43 of whom are represented in this book. And I am currently serving as the director of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle. That's a great joy. You can find out about the Evolutionary Leaders at evolutionaryleaders.net and the Source of Synergy Foundation at sourceofsynergyfoundation.org. So we have been, as a community, gathering in retreat once a year. Actually, we call it an advance because Barbara Marx Hubbard, the late great visionary, she was an original member of the group, and she said, there's no time to retreat anymore, we have to advance. So we have an advance every year, and we have a newsletter, we have a document online, a visionary document called The Call to Conscious Evolution, which you can find through our website, and you can still sign on to that. But we've never really had a way to outreach to people before, because we know that these well-known authors and visionaries that we know are leading the current evolution in consciousness, we know they're not the only ones. We know there's millions of you out there. And the community around WellSet is a perfect example of people who are really looking for new ways of healing ourselves and healing our relationship with the planet and creating a life for humanity that is a whole new paradigm that we're stepping into together. And I think that the chaos that we're seeing right now, not only the immense suffering that's been caused by the coronavirus all over the world, loss of life, loss of health, loss of income, loss of businesses. It's been a very stressful time here on planet Earth. And there are so many concurrent crises. The climate change is happening faster than any of us would like to think. And it's going to force us to make changes. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve with renewable energy sources. And the same is true in many other domains. In governance, where there's so much chaos right now, we're looking for new ways to come together and express ourselves so that everyone is included and everyone is valued. And this is an example of the values that are driving this evolution of consciousness. So how do we do this? This is a huge undertaking for humanity to come into the next level of our evolution. Wow, you know, it's a big job and it takes everybody. And that is really the basic, most basic value, is that everybody matters and everybody's contribution is important. No matter how large or small you think what you're doing is, it's all part of this glorious tapestry of the new birthing through these birth pangs of the old civilization. So that's why the subtitle of the book, it's above my head, Evolutionary Visions and Hope for the Future. We have 43 members of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle represented in this book, with 37 chapters of different viewpoints on what's needed and wanted as we move forward. And I think that this really does give tremendous hope for the future. This notion of hope was something that our wonderful publishers, Beyond Words, Atria Books, which is an imprint of Simon & Schuster, they really encouraged us to put the word hope in the subtitle. And I'm so glad that they did, because I think people really need hope right now. So are you going to ask me more questions, or do you want me to just keep talking?
Oh, that was wonderful. I think what we're, one of the topics that we were hoping to dive in today was spirituality in the 21st century. So I was hoping that, you could talk a little bit more about what your vision of that looks like, maybe what you see, where you see it as now, and where you hope it will sort of guide in the next few years and in the future.
Oh, what a wonderful question to ask me. Going right to my heart and my chapter in the book, which is about the emerging spirituality. And I call it a quiet revolution. This is definitely a topic that I look at with awe and wonder, because something is happening spiritually on this planet that I don't think was ever possible before. And this is dear to my heart, not only as an interfaith minister, but as the founder of the Garden of Light, which you can see at gardenoflight.org. The whole purpose of the Garden of Light is to make visible this spiritual evolution that's happening on the planet right now, that nobody seems to be talking about. And yet it seems so clear. Something is emerging through us, all of us, right now, that is taking us beyond the dogmas of the established religions, which doesn't mean that we have to give up our religion. In fact, I see this emerging through religious and non-religious people alike. It's a sense of our common spirituality. It's a sense that there is something greater than ourselves. You know how when you're trying to make a decision, sometimes it's almost like you hear a voice inside you, that maybe it's your intuition, maybe it's your higher self, maybe it's the voice of God or your guardian angel, something that is saying, maybe you should try this. We are opening to that light within every individual, and we're seeing it within every individual, and we're seeing it through the lenses, I know I do as an interfaith minister, of all the different religions. For instance, in the Hindu tradition, you greet people by saying namaste, which is, the light in me honors the light in you. And I think that's really the basis of this spirituality that I see emerging. And I see it coming. Uh, uh, Let me just tell you that when I was ordained as an interfaith minister back in 1993, I didn't have a lot of hard and fast beliefs. And I think that's why I was so drawn to the path of interfaith, because I could try on a lot of different beliefs. And you know, this is something that's new to our technological civilization, because all of the secrets of all of the beautiful religious and spiritual and indigenous traditions are becoming available to us through books and then through the internet, where, oh my goodness, some wise man once said that if you want to know the secrets of the universe, you have to first understand that it's not locked. You know, that you can explore and find your path, whatever that is for you. So there is an emerging belief that all religious and spiritual traditions have some truth, that they are all different windows on the same light, different expressions through different cultures and different languages, but seeking the same truths and cherishing many of the same values. Another thing that has become critical in this time is respecting each other's traditions, including indigenous traditions, because indigenous wisdom is so important now that we realize that our scientific-based civilization has done a lot of harm to the environment. We are poisoning the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the soil that gives us our food. So we have a lot to learn from the indigenous people who existed for untold generation upon generation in harmony with nature. We need to learn how to do that. So rather than having the arrogance that Western civilization has had over the last few hundred years, oh, we know better because we have science, we get to say, we have science and we treasure the gifts of science, but you have a different kind of science. And we honor you, and we want to learn from you. And we can learn from one another, all of us. And another value that I think is really coming to the forefront is that we have the power to heal ourselves and one another. And I think that's what WellNet is all about. And those of you who are in the WellNet community, who are watching, who may be practitioners of different kinds of medical healing modalities or body work, yoga, nutrition, all of these are things that we're starting to pay attention to. We're starting to say, science is great and we want it, but let's not overlook other kinds of knowledge, other kinds of traditional knowledge, plant medicine, different ways of healing ourselves, including how we think and how we approach our lives and how we are in relationship to others. I think another one of the emerging beliefs is that forgiveness is key to healing relationships, forgiving ourselves, forgiving our families, forgiving one another. And that is a powerful path of healing, whatever the issue is. It can always, always empower a relationship to get to the next level. So I see all of this happening not under the umbrella of a particular religion, but of a new sense of shared beliefs, shared values that can take us forward in a very new mindset for this new paradigm that we're stepping into together.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Deborah. And, what you were talking about earlier with, understanding Indigenous values, thinking about the way that we heal each other, as a collective and ourselves through, either healing work, like working with a practitioner, or going inwards more into a spiritual journey on your own. For those that might just be entering or just wrapping their heads around the idea of collective responsibility and collective healing, how would you recommend, what steps, maybe what tools you would recommend for someone who's just starting out in recognizing, okay, this is our shared world, we're here together, we need to take care of one another, and what ways they can sort of shift their daily practices or, their mindsets in order to take that on more fully?
That's a wonderful question. And I think what we're all finding these days is that we need community. We need one another. And we need local community. Some people find that in a house of worship or some other kind of gathering of people who may have a similar approach, or something that draws you, something that little voice says, why don't you try that? And on a larger scale, we need to feel part of this planetary community. And isn't that exciting? I think that's a first for this stage of human evolution, because we've come from tribal backgrounds, all of us. All of us are indigenous to somewhere, and all of us had ancestors who lived in what we would call primitive conditions, where the tribe or the clan was everything. And then we evolved into larger empires and nation states where we had a strong sense of patriotism or allegiance to our countries. And we still love our countries. We all do. And we treasure our cultures, all of the traditions that we grew up in, wherever we grew up and in what faith we might have grown up. But now we can see first from the moon. For those of us who are old enough to remember the 60s, when we took pictures from the moon of the earth and got to see that we are truly one planet, one family, sharing this beautiful gem suspended in the blackness of space. We are all one. So I think that people who are looking for larger community would do well to take a look at this book, Our Moment of Choice, where this variety of visionaries, all of whom have a deep and vast perspective on what's happening on planet Earth right now, are sharing the best of their wisdom with you. And the book itself is an invitation to the readers. It's not just a book where you sort of read it and you go, oh, that was interesting. Every chapter has a call to action, ways that you can take steps on your own to feel like you're part of this, because you are anyway. So we want to acknowledge that we are all community here on planet Earth, and we are just learning that it doesn't make a difference what your nationality is, what your race is, what your religion is. You are a precious, creative expression of whatever you want to call the intelligence that is holding this entire universe together. You can think of it as God, or you can think of it as just the vast unfolding isness of a living universe in which each of us plays our part. And everything that we think, feel, say, and do makes a difference. We can add to the love that I think of as the glue that holds the universe together. I even think of gravity that way, you know, what's pulling us to the earth? Maybe that's a physical expression of the force of love. We're all in this together, and we can all make a difference.
I think that's such a powerful message, Deborah. And, you know, when I was looking at some of your background experience, something that really stood out to me is your peace work that you've done with the United Nations. And one, I think that's incredible. And the fact that you've done that for so long, it shows your true commitment to this work. And I was wondering if you could share a story or two, or whatever pops into your mind first, about an experience that you had while working with the United Nations that really personified the hope that you wish to see in this generation, and maybe not only hope, but the action that you saw somebody else taking that really inspired you.
Thank you for that question. It's making me a little bit emotional because, you know, the United Nations is looked at differently in different countries of the world. And coming from the United States of America, when I was growing up, the United Nations was such a shining beacon. It was new when I was a kid. And it gave us so much hope in the post World War II years. And then over time, it seemed like America didn't have that same respect for the United Nations. And yet so many of the developing countries of the world really looked to the UN as a forum for their voices to be heard and to be brought into the civilization that was offering us so much opportunity. So it was very exciting for me when I first began representing at the United Nations an organization that was then called the World Peace Prayer Society and is now called May Peace Prevail on Earth International. This is a peace organization that started in Japan after the Second World War with the hope that no other country would experience the atomic bomb. So the founder of the organization, Masahisa Goi, came up with this prayer, may peace prevail on earth, that could be said by anybody of any religion or no religion. And his followers started planting that message on posts around Japan. And that came to the United States as the Peace Pole Project. And now there are peace poles in every country of the world. There have to be at least 300,000 of them all over the world. There might be many more. And it was such an honor to represent that organization and that prayer at the United Nations. And what I began really dedicating a lot of my energy to was the United Nations International Day of Peace, which is annually on September 21st. So you all know that the UN has a lot of days, a lot of important days, Human Rights Day and World Environment Day and many others. But there was something about the International Day of Peace. It had a very spiritual background. It was started by people who were really trying to put forth the core principle of the United Nations, which was founded to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, as something that all of humanity could get behind. And of course, it was approved by every government, so it belonged to everyone. And a number of organizations, particularly Pathways to Peace and the United Religions Initiative, we're also behind this in a major way, and promoting this as the first global holiday that everybody could. We didn't have to stay home from school or work, but we could take a moment of silence at 12 noon to focus on peace, and that peace wave would circle the globe. So, of course, I thought it was a wonderful opportunity for people to plant peace poles and to include the prayer, "May peace prevail on earth," in their moment of silence. And lo and behold, we were fortunate enough to be invited by the United Nations Department of Public Information to work with them every year to create a program for students to celebrate the International Day of Peace with their wonderful peace messengers, including Michael Douglas and Yo-Yo Ma and Jane Goodall, who has shown up every year, year after year, to help inspire the students. So I want to encourage everyone to mark their calendars for September 21st and take a minute of silence at 12 noon. This is 2020. We have to open to our vision, 2020 vision. Peace on earth. Do we need to fight one another anymore? Does war make any sense? No. It's part of the old paradigm that, my country's better than your country, and if you don't think so, we have to fight it out. I want your land, I want your resources. No, we're all in this together. War is obsolete, and I think everybody knows it. It's time to move on to a culture of peace. So that is how this work with the United Nations really nourished me, really made me feel that how we can all be a part of this, and how we cannot move forward as a species until we affirm that it's time for peace on earth.
Wow, Deborah, it's so inspiring, and it's such an important message, I think, that we all need to hear right now in this moment. And we will be exploring this, quite thoroughly over the next 7 months. But this has been an amazing introduction to the types of conversations that I think are so pertinent right now, as everything changes globally and culturally, politically, in terms of our environment. Everything is changing, and I think that message of unifying peace and love is what we really need to sit in thoughtfully and deeply right now.
What else is there for us to do, really and truly?
Yeah. And we just got a comment from Ellen, and she shared, "I feel that it's true that everyone's contribution matters, and I'm wondering how to step into that when feeling uncertain or feeling like no one needs permission to be in their gifts and service."
Oh, Ellen, you have permission. The world gives you permission to step into who you are called to be. You are a beacon of light and love on this planet. Everyone can be that. Nothing should stop you. It's who you are and who you are meant to be. And, I really want to encourage all of you to take a look at this book, Our Moment of Choice, because there are so many inspiring writers in this book. And somebody took a look at the list of the authors who were included and said, "Oh my goodness, it's my bookshelf." So it's a feast of inspiration, and I'm sure that all of you will find nuggets in this book that you can take away that can empower your journey forward and help you to see the path toward the choices that you can make so that you're part of the solution. I know, because you're listening to this program, that you're ready. This is our moment of choice.
And Ellen, thank you so much for kicking it off in the chat. I want to open up To the rest of the participants, one, thank you so much for being here with us and for listening. If you have any questions, please let us know in the chat box. We do have some time left. If you have any questions for Reverend Deborah about our moment of choice, we also have a publisher with us on who can help answer any questions named Brenna, or any questions about WellSet. I'm happy to answer those as well. And I think, Deborah, one thing we can also touch on before we finish up is, throughout this conversation, we've touched on important values, I think, in relationships. And I'd love to hear, with your background as an interfaith minister, I think a lot of the lessons that you might have learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, of working with, couples that come from different backgrounds and different, religions, different point of views, ideologies, coming together for one purpose, which is love. How would you sort of, transcend that, to politics and how we see, the world communicating with each other? What sort of values would you take in your relationship advice for those couples that you would also apply for the rest of the world, and how we're all supposed to communicate with each other?
It's interesting, isn't it, to look at the interfaith movement that came up through the 20th century. Maybe you could say it started with the Parliament of the World's Religions in 1893, the first time the religions came together to talk to one another. But the rise of different interfaith organizations in the late 20th century, I think, was so important. People are learning to talk to one another and to accept one another across differences. And now we have what is known as the interspiritual movement that's standing on the shoulders of the interfaith movement. And one of my co-editors for the book, Dr. Kurt Johnson, wrote The Coming Interspiritual Age. We actually have some chapters of that as a bonus download if you go to ourmomentofchoice.com to purchase the book. So interfaith is relatively new. And when I was ordained, truly, people were, you're going to be a what? What's an interfaith minister? And now I think it's quite common. People have heard of it, certainly. And as you suggest, there are many people who look to get married by interfaith ministers. And it's always such a joy to marry people. It's such an iconic moment in a person's life. My father was a judge. He had been a kind of a do-gooder working for the Legal Aid Society for most of his career, and then he was finally appointed to the bench. And he was so excited to get to marry people. And little did I know that I would follow in his footsteps in that way and have the joy of not only bringing people together, but bringing people potentially of quite different backgrounds together and designing ceremonies particularly for them. Because when you get married, you are asking those who are gathered to be the witnesses to your vows. So it's tremendously, deeply personal. And everything that happens around that is like what holds together that core of that important moment, which is between those two people. So what you have around the outside is you have lots of family and friends, and sometimes they're from quite different religious backgrounds and traditions. And it's so beautiful to see those traditions blend and maybe have, for instance, a Christian prayer or a Muslim prayer or a Hindu prayer or a Native American prayer, and then break the wine glass in the Jewish tradition at the end. And then all of the family and friends feel included as these important witnesses to the vows. So marrying people is just an extraordinary privilege. And I also had the privilege of conducting interfaith services at a little chapel in Croton Falls, New York for 10 years. We did it monthly in a Presbyterian church. And it was such a joy to bring speakers and practitioners from different faiths to come and share the beauty of their tradition with people who didn't know very much about it. I learned so much. Everybody learned. And of course, most people are really delighted to be asked about their faith, especially if they are prominent in their faith community. So that was also an extraordinary privilege. And I think that this time is so important. This time in human history, when we can learn about one another, who wouldn't want to know the deepest wisdom that's been taught and learned over the ages from the people who know that tradition? Nobody can be an expert on everything, but everybody can share something. So I'm excited that I was born at a time when I could become an interfaith minister. And I studied at the pioneering new seminary that was established by Rabbi Joseph Gelberman, a true pioneer. Can you imagine this rabbi? He was a Hasidic rabbi from Hungary who came to the United States prior to the Second World War, thank God, because his family all perished in the Second World War. But he was here teaching Kabbalah, the mystical tradition of Judaism. And he made friends. He was such an extraordinary light. He made friends with people of all different traditions. And he got together with a swami, a priest, and a minister to found the new seminary to ordain interfaith ministers. A rabbi, a Hasidic rabbi, had this mission inside him to train interfaith ministers. And every session of every class included music and joy. He was just the most joyful person on the planet. And his work is continued today. I believe the new seminary continues on. There's also one Spirit Seminary founded by Reverend Diane Burke and John Mundy. And that is also a place that is producing beautiful ministers of, who are dedicated to what is it to be a minister? It's to minister to people, to be there to serve, to dedicate your life to service. And I can just say from personal experience that if you get up every morning and you say, God, make me an instrument of your peace, you're going to be busy.
Well, I'm so glad you ended with that, because the next sort of piece I wanted to ask you, and I think this might be a good way for us to round out this conversation, is, you mentioned waking up and asking, how can I be, a minister of peace? How can I do this work? And I think for those of us that are, either young enough to still be shaping our own spirituality, or at any point in our lives, rethinking and reshaping our own spirituality, what are some daily practices that you recommend to deepen that spirituality and to reflect on that spirituality?
One of the practices that's part of this emerging global spirituality is meditation. Very, very simple. Of course, there are lots of different ways to meditate, but anything that you do to still your mind is valuable, because then you give room for what Deepak Chopra and others call the space between thoughts. We are a very mental civilization, and our own minds can make us crazy. So we need to learn how to drop into the stillness and to drop into our hearts Heart Math teaches, it's an amazing organization. It teaches that if you simply put your hand on your heart, you change your frequency. Try it. Put your hand on your heart right now and just take a deep breath. It feels good, doesn't it? So a lot of people tell me, oh, I can't meditate. My mind is too busy. I can't do it. Well, I think that's why over the centuries, people have developed techniques of prayer. Because, you know, if we can't listen, we can talk. And that's another good way to quiet ourselves down. And also to focus on the great need that we see in the world, in the people around us. Who is hurting? Who's in need of our prayers? Lynne McTaggart, who is one of the contributors to this book, Our Moment of Choice, she has done intention experiments with healing. Amazing healing has happened out of groups of 8 people just getting quiet together with a shared intention that somebody heal. People have actually stepped up out of wheelchairs just out of that. So it doesn't need to be a prayer that's attached to a religion, but it can be, and that can be powerful too. You may feel you have allies, that you have guides and angels around you. You can pray however you are moved to pray, and to whomever you are moved to pray, and your prayers will be heard. The Garden of Light, the website of my little nonprofit, has a prayer room for people to post prayers, because there's something about saying your prayer, even if you're not sure whether it's being heard or not. There is a power. There's a power in speaking our intention from the heart. And in fact, when you put your hands in prayer position, I remember some wise woman once saying, your heart is telling your hands what to do through your words. So these are some of the ways that you can go deeper into your own spiritual path and read the people who inspire you. So many people in the book, Our Moment of Choice, have inspired others on their spiritual path. Deepak Chopra, Reverend Michael Beckwith, Reverend Sylvia Sumter, Reverend Christian Sorensen, Joan Borisenko, and you know, even people who write in more secular language who are so inspiring to people. Jean Houston, Gregg Braden, Bruce Lipton, Diane Marie Williams. Read these people who want to share their life's dedication of learning about what's needed right now from every one of us to help take humanity consciously to the next level of evolution. The late Barbara Marx Hubbard wrote for this book. It might have been the last piece that she wrote. And she was the one who inspired us in the Evolutionary Leaders to focus on the idea of conscious evolution, that we've seen how evolution works scientifically and how we evolve. Bruce Lipton writes a lot about how and Elizabeth Saturas, who also has a beautiful piece in this book, about how we evolved, for how these one-celled organisms evolved and how bacteria became, you know, larger organisms, became plants, became animals. We know about evolution. But when has a species ever been self-reflective the way we are, and able to make choices that actually determine how we're going to evolve and in what direction? This is our moment of choice. So you can actually see that your contribution as a spiritual being on a spiritual path, that can be acknowledging that is a choice that can help bring this evolution forward. Yes, we're all here for a purpose. Are you living your purpose? Well, you know what? You probably are, whether you realize it or not. But if you think about it, what you are doing, whatever work you're doing, whatever you're doing to raise children in the next generation, and have you noticed how they're coming in with special light, how smart they are and how aware and how positive the coming generations are about their ability to make the changes that we need to make on this planet? What are you doing? Are you growing food? Are you driving a bus and saying good morning to everybody? Whatever you're doing, if you do it as your sacred purpose, then you are helping bringing us forward into the next era of human evolution. An era, I hope and pray, of peace and love and unity.
I think that's such a beautiful, message to end on, that, hope and peace can look so differently for each person. And, your own commitment to shaping what the world is going to look like, or what you hope the world will look like, is so unique to each individual. And I think that's such a great reminder for all of us that we can find that purpose in whatever we're doing and whoever we are, and just to keep doing it and keep committing to it. I think that's beautiful.
So big thank you to WellSet for featuring over the next months different contributors to the book, Our Moment of Choice, because I'm so inspired every time I hear each one of them talk. If I read their chapter or I hear them speak about it, I get renewed and inspired for my mission as director of the Evolutionary Leaders to support them, and for the Source of Synergy Foundation to be building that synergy among all of these brilliant, creative visionaries, but also the synergy with everyone who wants to be part of this movement. Our moment of choice. You are welcome. You are in. And we cherish each and every one of you, and we honor your path. This is such an important time for humanity. And you know what? There are a lot of unconscious people out there. Have you seen it? Have you seen it lately? Have you seen it erupt in violence? We can't continue that way. But what is our weapon? Our weapon is love. All we can do is shine our own light and know that together we can reach that tipping point where humanity truly begins. Doesn't it feel like 2020 is a gateway? This is the month of September. The International Day of Peace is coming up, and Peace Weekend, there are going to be events all over the world. Why don't we make this our time, our gateway, our moment of choice to create something new and beautiful right here on planet Earth? We are called, and we're called to do it the only way that it's possible. Each one by shining our light, and then shining our light together. We're counting on you.
Well, Deborah, thank you so much for giving us your time today, and, reflecting on both your past experiences and inspiring us for the future. We appreciate you. And I just want to say also that we appreciate everyone that's with us today, that's taken a moment out of their day to, to be inspired, to share this moment with us, and to reflect and think about our own role that we're going to play in shaping the future for ourselves and everyone around us. So Thank you to everyone. If you want to share some gratitude in the chat, we'd love to hear it. And it looks like we already have some amazing comments. One from Amanda saying, thank you. This has been so uplifting and a beautiful. Thank you. And one from Yosh saying, yes, 2020 is a big gateway.
Let's walk through it together. Thank you so much. Thank you to WellSet, and thank you to the Source of Synergy Foundation for making this book possible and bringing forth what I know are going to be a lot of evolutionary conversations, really juicy ways that we can all dive in together to vision together what we want. This is what the United Nations theme is for this year's International Day of Peace. It's shaping the future we want. So let's do it.
Well, I'm going to close out this conversation by just sharing one more time in the chat the link to WellSet if you're not familiar with it. If you're new to us, we are a marketplace to find and book wellness practitioners. So sort of moving from this conversation, if you're looking to deepen your spiritual practice, I know we also covered meditation. We have, hundreds, if not thousands, of meditation coaches and spiritual coaches as well. So if you need a little help on that journey, we have you covered. And I'm going to leave my email here as well in case you need any help navigating the marketplace if you are interested. So thank you, Deborah, one more time. This has been fantastic. Thank you for kicking off this series, and we're so excited. Everyone, we're going to be here every Thursday from 10:30 to 11:30 a.m. PST with another author. And we're going to keep the inspiration going for the next few months.
Blessings. May peace prevail on earth.
Take care, everyone.